War words erupted between China and the United States over the cancellation of U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's North Korea visit. China has said it was irresponsible of Donald Trump to suggest that Beijing was not putting enough pressure on North Korea over its nuclear program. The U.S. president had indicated that he held China responsible for the stalemate. Trump said that China was not helping with the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula as it once used to because of the trade dispute with the U.S. The U.S. has cancelled more than $200 million in aid for the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and West Bank, leading Palestine's ambassador to accuse the Donald Trump administration of being anti-peace. The U.S. State Department said the decision was made at the direction of President Trump. Washington has said that the funding previously allocated to Palestine will now be allocated to high-priority projects elsewhere in the world. A wildfire wreaked havoc across the U.S. state of Hawaii. Authorities said that the wildfire broke out as strong winds that were brought by Hurricane Lane caused two high-voltage lines to come into contact with each other. Authorities ordered mandatory evacuation as firefighters struggled to contain the blaze. Despite losing its intensity, the Hurricane Lane managed to cause significant damages in Hawaii. A drone footage shows partially submerged cars at a bayfront in the archipelago's Big Island. The tropical storm triggered landslides and floods in Hawaii. The U.S. Weather Department has warned that Hurricane Lane would lead to significant coastal erosion even though its magnitude has receded. All coastal weather warnings and watch advisories for the U.S. state of Hawaii were lifted as Hurricane Lane weakened further and drifted towards the west and away from the archipelago. However, the National Weather Service has cautioned that the storm would trigger heavy rainfall throughout the weekend that might lead to flooding and landslides. Residents of the U.S. state of Texas marked the first anniversary of the Hurricane Harvey that left over 35 people dead and more than 30,000 homeless. Last year, the tropical storm was the worst hurricane to hit the state in more than 50 years. Hurricane Harvey left a trail of devastation in Texas and posed a massive rebuilding challenge to the Trump administration. At least 16 people were killed and over 30 injured when a tourist bus flipped over on a highway near the Bulgarian capital of Sofia. Police have said that the bus was carrying local tourists on a weekend trip to a nearby resort. Ambulances rushed to the scene and took the injured to the hospitals in Sofia. The death toll is expected to rise as the doctors have said that some of the injured people were in a critical condition. Calling the accident a great tragedy, the Bulgarian government declared a national day of mourning. Tens of thousands of Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh held a rally to demand justice on the occasion of the first anniversary of the exodus from Myanmar. The protesters marched through a refugee camp chanting slogans against genocide. Myanmar has said that the Rohingyas can return to the country, but international agencies have cast doubts over safety of the Muslim refugees in the Buddhist-dominated nation. Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi has said that it is up to Dhaka to decide the speed of Rohingya return. "50 years ago, several people demonstrated at Moscow's Red Square against the Soviet authorities' suppression of the anti-government movement in the erstwhile Czechoslovakia. On the anniversary of the protest, one of the original protesters gathered with friends and descendants of other protesters who were imprisoned by the Soviet authorities at the spot of the original protest. A prominent Russian opposition leader has been detained in Moscow. The leader's party has said that he was detained without any apparent reason. The leader, who has been detained and jailed several times for organizing anti-criminal protests, was barred from running in Russia's presidential elections earlier this year. Critics have said that the detention was an attempt by Russian President Vladimir Putin to silence the opposition. A latest Ebola outbreak in eastern Congo has claimed the lives of over 67 people in just a month's time. Authorities have said that they have ordered a consignment of new drugs to tackle the virus amid concerns that it has spread to a rebel-encircled area where the government has no control. The electoral campaign for the legislative, regional and municipal elections in Mauritania began on a low pitch as it coincided with a religious festival. The Northwest African nation will go to polls next month. Pope Francis received a roaring welcome in the Irish capital of Dublin on the first papal visit to the country in nearly 40 years. Thousands of people lined up on the streets to catch the glimpse of the pontiff, who was aboard a pre-mobile vehicle. The last papal visit to the deeply Catholic nation was in 1979 when Pope John Paul II visited Ireland. Protesters staged demonstrations in Dublin to raise awareness about the sex abuse scandals that have gripped the Catholic Church as Pope Francis began his trip to Ireland. A series of inquiries between 2005 and 2014 exposed sexual abuse of minors by priests in Ireland. Church homes for unmarried women also have been investigated for their treatment of children. Demonstrators who came from Northern Ireland gathered along the streets of Dublin, hanging baby shoes around their necks to demand strong action from the Vatican. Pope Francis prayed for church sexual abuse victims before the Candle of Innocence in Dublin after he vowed to end what he called the repugnant sexual exploitation of children by Catholic clergy. The Candle of Innocence, which was first lit in 2011, commemorates the victims of abuse scandals that have shattered the credibility of the church as a moral leader in Ireland. The first festival celebrating redheads in France kicked off in the region of Brittany. The festival, which aims to change perceptions and fight discrimination against people with ginger-colored hair, was attended by hundreds of people. Historically, red hair was linked with magic, and many redheads were looked down with suspicion, especially during medieval times. Over 1,000 of history enthusiasts in army uniforms gathered in the French town of VERDUN to commemorate the eponymous World War I battle. Nearly 70,000 people were killed in the bloody battle, which took place in 1916. The participants, who came from 18 countries, including UK and Germany, wore period costumes and arms and reenacted the Great War soldiers' daily lives. The participants also walked from a reconstructed military camp to the Victory Monument in the town. Military bands from around the world staged a colorful performance at the Red Square in front of the Kremlin, situated in the heart of the Russian capital of Moscow. The festival, called the Kremlin Savior Tour, featured bands who had mastered the art of music, from classical pieces, military marches to popular modern tunes. Over 1,000 performers from 15 countries participated in the festival, which was first held in 2007. Britain's Gary Hunt has won the Denmark leg of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. The Briton managed to impress the judges with 3 somersaults and 4 twists as he climbed to the second place in the overall season standings. The finals are scheduled to take place in Bosnia next month. A fishermen community celebrated its annual coconut festival in the western Indian city of Mumbai. This festival is celebrated by the fishermen at the end of monsoon season to calm down the sea and also to ward off any untoward incidents when they are at work in the sea. The coconut festival is observed on a full moon day and also marks the end of the monsoon season. Victims of the second worst floods in a century in the popular hill station of Munnar in India's flood-hit Kerala state are struggling to return to normalcy as restoration work has gathered pace. The picturesque hill town is struggling to pick up the pieces remaining in the aftermath of the floods and landslides. Even though the district was not washed away, subsequent landslides damaged its roads, bridges, tea plantations and houses. The annual harvest festival of ONAM was a low-key affair as the flood-hit coastal Indian state of Kerala struggled to come to terms with the damage that the disaster has caused. However, the floods did not completely damper the ONAM spirit as people decorated their floods with flower murals, visited temples and indulged in a sumptuous feast called Sadhya. Celebrating the auspicious sibling festival of Raksha Bandhan, girls tie the Rakhi or the sacred thread on the wrist of soldiers of India's border security force in Jammu and Kashmir. A Rakhi is a symbolic holy thread which a sister ties on the wrist of a brother as a mark of revered bondage between them. A similar celebrations took place around India.